Good morning, Soul Rebels. I don't know how you do it, but I have a sneaking suspicion on how, because I do it too. Thank you for coming to the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, the three modes. We're dealing with the three, the gunas right now, the dark, the active, and the sattvic. And and then we're going to look at the three types of foods and so on in this chapter 17. But anyway, we talked a little bit about tramp souls last week. Hope that didn't scare you too much. Good morning, Brooke. Can't tell you how many blessings are pouring into you, and that goes for you too, Narayan and Mary and Alex. No, really, seriously, but not seriously. More enlightenedly is maybe a better word. More enlightenedly, if there is such a word. And Lisa and Jim Clark, can't tell you all the bonus points that you're acquiring, you're gathering up on these Tuesdays with with Krishna, Tuesdays with Krishna. Yeah, then the Bhagavad Gita. And Brooke, I mentioned you. Thank you so much. So we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to read. We're on page 993. If you have volume two, book two of God Talks to Arjuna. In other words, God talks to Narayan, Mary, Lisa. Did I get everybody? You know who I'm talking to. That we have this to think about right now. So page 993, verses 5 to 6. And those 5 to 6 verses, what did they say way back when? The Sattvic pay homage to the Devas. Devas are good guys, you know. When you're a shark, you're a shark. Oh, a jet, a jet all the way. From your first cigarette to your last dying date, you are a deva, my dears. You worship the devas. The Rajasic to the Yakshas and the Rakshasas, which is kind of that quality of the restless guna. And then there's the Tamasic, which people give worship to the Pretas and the host of Bhutas. And all those that I just mentioned are not the good guys, right? So you have the Tamas, or you have the Devas, you have the Sattvic, then you have the Rajas, the restless, the kind of just go after things of this world and get caught up even if you don't want to, the things of this world. And then the Rakshasas and the Pretas, which are all those demons and giants of great power and aggression and all that stuff. And who knows what else is in the inner worlds with the battle of the ages, right? The great Armageddon we're in. There's the great battle between the light and the dark. This is this planet. So good job being here right now, honestly. So that's the verse 4. That's the verse 4 and 5, I do believe it. No, that was just verse 4. So we are finishing verse 4. Then we're moving to 5 and 6 today. Anyway, it's just detail. And we know that love is in this present moment, don't we? Yeah. I have a beautiful thing that we shared in our stream recently in the Sacred Soul Meditation, and it's called Micro Moments. Micro Moments. Man, it's caught my attention big time. Game changer, life changer. Micro moments, massive shifts in the present moment. And what is micro moments, massive shifts mean? It's how small rituals, how you can pause at any time in the present moment and have a little ritual that will rewire your mindset. A little ritual with the divine. That means everything else goes away. Slate's wiped clean, and there's just this micro moment that you have. And it's a woman who teaches this to help people be embodied, be embodied by the simple practices of being in the present moment, how they can be empowered. Wow. So let's think of that. Let's just right now just feel like we have a micro moment which is creating a massive shift in us because we have just dropped the world, we've dropped our hang-ups, we've dropped our limitations, we've dropped it all just to stand in the presence or hug the presence or be in the presence of the Lord. Yeah, that's it. Massive shifts. And have your little ritual with intimacy into me I see. This is how we get into a divine romance, as Paramahansaji says. So, in starting just this verse at the top of page 993, to remind you of what was the last things we said last week about the tramp souls. But first, that the practices that we are about, they bypass the subconscious state of the astral realms and develop man's superconscious state. It's okay to bypass if you want to go higher, if you want to have more intimacy with the divine, if you want to take a break all the time, make sure that you're standing in the light and not in something that is of the ego, right? So these practices, this is the bottom of page 992. These practices bypass the subconscious state. So all of that stuff where the gloom and the doom and all our karma and samskaras dwell, my dears, in that subconscious state. We bypass that and the astral realms and develop our superconscious state by raising the mind to the Christ center, the forehead, where no tramp soul can venture. It is the superconscious that we meet true saints and masters. So that little micro moment, that's where you practice the super consciousness. Anytime, anywhere. Stop the world, I'm getting off. Bang. And then you're just standing in the presence, in the micro moment, which is creating a massive shift. And then you have your little small ritual. What's this? What's the best small ritual to have in any given present moment, my dears? Is love. A love exchange. A love exchange between you and the divine beloved. Between you and this, we call this stream today, the divine indweller. Yeah, the divine indweller. So this is really a micro moment, massive shift inside within your own divinity, because that's where divine dweller is. And you just have some love moments. You just exchange the greatest exchange in the galactic world is, as you love me, Lord, I love you more. And as you love me more, I love you more. All right. That's what happens in a micro moment. That's what shifts your life. That's what puts you into an impenetrable bubble of God's presence and God's help and God's love for you. Yeah. So the super consciousness, that's a super consciousness stop. That's a super consciousness rest stop, that micro moment, my dears. I can't talk about it enough. And be with it now. Just have a micro moment where there's just love exchange between you and God, you and the beloved, you and the highest sattvic quality that you can lift yourself up to right now. The beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thoughts, the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful surrender, the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful empathy, all those things, and compassion. So there's sympathy, there's empathy, and then there's compassion. And they all go upgrade. The sympathy is okay, but sometimes you can go down with that person. You get too identified when you sympathize. But then there's empathy, where you put on their moccasins, where you put on their glasses, where you walk in there, whatever's going on inside them with empathy. And then of course then there's compassion, where you just that's the name of the game right there, where you can feel completely God's presence in that soul. That's what compassion leads to. Anyway, So in this superconscious micro moment that you can have all day, in every way, whenever you want, a life changer, a mind shifter, and a romance maker. How's that? How's that for the start for today? So that's where we hang out in the highest sattvic, where the masters are. And the masters are surrounded by a divine light. And when one sees them, they infallibly know by intuition. You know, when you go across the other side and you see this greeter, this greeter that meets you there. I'm a greeter at the ashram. Is one of the things I do. The ashram meditation group here, and yeah, greeter. You can just greet that divine indweller. Yeah, that who really is you in the highest sense and in every little detail. That you are this divinity within. So you have a micro moment with it. That's all we need, my dears, but plenty of those micro moments. So that's where the masters are, surrounded by a divine light. And when one sees them, you infallibly know by intuition that they're great souls. You just know. So this is where we start today's reading, page 993. No one should try to enter the world of physically disembodied spirits, because we talked about the tramp souls, right? Just 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 reminding you, we don't want to be in that subconscious, not at all, not even close. We want to be at least consciously aware, but ideally we're super consciously aware, because that's where we're in one-on-one divine romance, one-on-one, the beloved and you, the king and I, the queen and I, that kind of intimacy. No one should try to enter the world of physically disembodied spirits. So don't even have an inkling about that until she and he is first armed with the spiritual power to control that world. Can you control the world of your subconscious mind? That would be wonderful. And that's what we're doing when we have a micro moment, when we have a little ritual with that divine lover. And that's the only purpose why we have a little, micro moment, is to just feel that presence with us, the divine indwell, to feel the truth of us. So we enter the world of physically disembodied spirits. Don't even go there until we are first armed with the spiritual power to control that world. So if you can control your subconscious mind, if you can control your conscious mind, that's great. But what will really help you to control your mind and control your life is these micro moments, these small rituals done with all your love in a love exchange with the divine beloved or the divine indweller in you. Okay? Really important, and really powerful. So we don't try to enter the physically disembodied spirits until we're first armed with that spiritual power to control our world. And this is how we can control our world, by having more and more timeouts in the micro moments, in the ritual of the divine romance. How's that? With the divine beloved of your choice. Such power comes only from communion with the Lord. The Lord is the maker of all souls. And when the devotee has attuned himself to God, if he wants to see and converse with someone who has gone on, the Lord will send that person to him. So look at the bonuses that we get when we get off this, stop this world. I'm getting off because I'm going to have a micro moment. I'm going to do a ritual. A ritual. As you love me, I'm going to love you more. And as I love you more, you love me more. So I'm going to do that ritual. So, but the Lord is the maker of all souls. And when the devotee has attuned himself to God, if he wants to see and converse with someone who has gone on, and that includes your pets and animals, Tune yourself to God that you want to see and converse with someone who has gone on. The Lord will send that person or that animal, that dog, to you. As Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. So, yogis, my dears, and that's why I started this morning. Good morning, soul. Soul rebels, good morning. Rebels with a cause, because you're yogis and yoginis at the highest level. You wouldn't be on this Gita unless you are, and obtaining a higher frequency and a higher ability, a more constant ability to remain in that holy presence, that holy light, that micro moment, that ritual where it's just you and the beloved. You know, who's to say that God is not totally behind every little detail of your life? Who's to say that that's not possible? Right? I hope it's not you, because this is the time where there is a shift happening globally. And who knows how else in the inner realms and the higher spheres. But it is happening. So pay attention, my dears, because you are right there now. You are right there. For right where we are right now, that's where you are. Because this is where you are right now. All right? Does that make sense? But don't underestimate that you're almost to the point, if not there, where you are saying, I have had enough of this world. I have had enough of being as what Yogananda or Sri Yukteswar said, stop being kicked around by the sense frogs. Stop being kicked around by the sense frogs. Maybe you have come to that point, which is really an amazing grace, accountability, or responsibility, that you know that God is doing this because you've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to do this change over, makeover, whatever, but it hasn't worked. But all those efforts have brought you amazing grace, and he is gracing you to give you the ability to be in a non-stop divine romance, man and woman. Are you kidding me? And on this Gita stream right now, yeah, don't underestimate that it's your time for that. Just check it out. See how much easier some of the things that were really difficult were, not maybe even not long ago, maybe even yesterday. And see how much easier it is today to deal with that, because you do the micro stops, the micro moments. Yeah, because you let the world alone. You have nothing to do with it in those micro moments. You just have a ritual of exchanging love with the beloved there. I'll tell you, it's a massive shift, my dears, what we're talking about. So yogis stress the importance of concentrating on the definite thought of God, the definite thought of God, while casting aside all other ideas. This is exactly what we're talking about. Really important. Yogis stress the importance of concentrating on a definite thought, that micro moment where you're in a love exchange with the divine. The importance of just that thought while casting aside everything else, my dears. You can do that for 10 seconds. You can do that for 30 seconds. That's why it's such a powerful practice, because it's doable. And we can, any of us, and if we put everything aside and just have this moment of love and connection with the divine indweller, we're set to go. We're set to go. We'll be fine in this chapter 17. All right. So you cast all other ideas aside. By thus trying always to reach the highest vibrations, by thus trying always to reach the highest vibration. See, that stop is a the practice of reaching your highest vibration. Like, what if you're standing there with the Lord every time you have that micro moment, just in the presence of? That's it, with your heart open and your mind calm, right? And your sensibilities all under your massive shift controls, because you realize that this is the rest of my days. This is the way I want to be for the rest of my days. Yeah, it's all because of divine grace too. my dears. So if you try always to reach the highest vibration, the seeker is able to avoid the lower astral world where the trapped souls are and who knows what else, and to commune with the Lord in one of his manifestations as peace. So the micro moment could just be a moment of peace. Are you ready? Do you feel ready for for having peace? Really, like constant peace, just like you would have constant, worry for who knows how many lifetimes, constant fear, right? That's pretty constant for a lot of people still. But what if you could just be at peace? What if that is the new you? The Lord in one of his manifestations says peace. How about the cosmic sound of Om? Just if you take that micro moment and just Om, 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 the sound of Om, sound of rushing waters. Om, Om, right? Or you commune with God as light, just feeling, just putting your attention at the point between the eyebrows and imagining your whole forehead becoming lit up with the light, and then your whole head, and then your whole body, and then the whole room, and things like that, right? What a cosmic moment that would be, right? Or if one is very advanced as the visible form of a saint, or a Yogananda, or a Divine Mother. But that's why we stop in the name of love before we think it all over, right? Stop in the name of love. Yeah, that's what's kind of a nice little remembrance of the days when that song was popular, right? So devotees who go deep in meditation are able to reach the higher realms where the great ones dwell. So deeper in meditation comes from these little moments of meditation, or these micro moments where you drop the world. And as more you drop the world, the more you realize that this is the grace God is giving you. It's time in your life where you can do this, where God is behind it, has given you the grace and will continue to give you the grace to be at peace if you choose, to be in the cosmic Om if you choose, to be in the light if you choose. Or if you really want to choose a saint that you want to have a conversation with or be standing by in that cosmic moment. Any saint or of the Yogananda lineage, any one of those gurus, right? So, wow, this is why it's about massive shifts now happening and rewiring the brain when you do these little breakaways from everything that you think you are, all the thoughts, all the feelings, all the plans, what's happening in the world, and you got it all figured out, and you just drop it. You just drop it because your essence is omnipresence. So it's a practice of omnipresence as well. So devotees who go deep in meditation are able to reach the higher realms where the great ones dwell. That is the purpose of scientific techniques of self-realization, which of course we know is Yogananda's mission, especially his Kriya Yoga technique taught from the ancient times in India. These practices help the yogi to uplift her consciousness. Those little techniques, not little techniques, they're techniques that are micro moments, is what they are. Yeah. To help the yogi uplift his consciousness to receive consciously, the subtle vibratory aid of God. I was going to call this stream, and I still may, the subtle vibratory aid of God and liberated masters, so we can uplift our consciousness to receive consciously the subtle vibratory aid of God every time you make a micro moment, little ritual of a love exchange between you and the beloved. Every time you are receiving the vibratory aid of God and the liberated masters, that's all. Huh? Every time when you are aligned with the divine. And that's what's going to come into your consciousness more and more these days, and you're going to realize that this is the purpose of my life. No longer am I struggling to do this particular practice, but now it's grace and ease because of God's blessing. It's all God's blessings. It's all grace, my dears. The techniques safely lead. The techniques, the scientific techniques that come from India, they safely lead the devotee to feel the presence of the spirit behind all beings. The spirit behind all spirits. Yeah, it leads us safely to feel the presence of spirit. That's why we don't want to mess around with I felt this and I saw this, the deity or whatever. You got to be so careful about that. You know, you make the discernment, you make the call on that. But this was a verse here, this verse 5, 4 and 5, that really talk about those tramp souls that hang around by the millions, Yogananda said, as we read about last week, right? It's, an idle mind's a devil's workshop kind of thing. Anyway, devotees who go deep in meditation are able to reach the higher points that is necessary for her and him in this particular moment, in this particular place where we are, where we can have relief from the grief and a break from being human. How's that? Right? And into that new phase of you, the new phase, the 5D, the new earth, my dears, the new you. Couldn't be more truer you, the truer you than you. So those techniques that we get from ancient India through Yogananda help us to uplift our consciousness to receive consciously the subtle vibratory aid of God and the liberated masters. Don't forget this. The techniques safely lead the devotee to feel the presence of spirit behind all beings. How could you then have a judgment on any being when you know that each one is the presence of spirit? How can we have a judgment after that, after knowing that and practicing that? The lives of its advanced disciples, such as Larry Mahashai, Sri Yukteswar, and many others, afford ample proof. The accomplished Kriya Yogi becomes master of her consciousness and will. What if your consciousness and will was this micro moment in a love romance, the greatest love story ever told, right? Where you do that little ritual. As you love me, Lord, I love you more. And as I love you more, you love me more. And then as you love me more, I love you more. Right? That's a pretty good ritual. Might turn out to be your favorite. Persons who invite visitations from astral entities, that's where we be careful. And similarly, those who allow their minds to be hypnotized, that is, controlled by another, carelessly risk the enslavement of their God given instruments of salvation. So we don't know how much we risk in each day when we are just kind of mindless instead of mindful, right? When we still go about and think and do the human more. We got to get to 51% where we are more divine than human. We got to break that barrier. Like maybe even today, that we are every single day, we're 51% or more in the micro worship or the micro ritual of divine romance. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So we don't want any getting close to anything that's going to take control of our minds or be hypnotized, that is controlled by another, carelessly risk the enslavement of their God-given instruments of salvation. You have God-given instruments of salvation. So even if we're not on the borderline of being, caught by a tramp soul or some teaching that just seems don't know about it, but we kind of you know find it a little easier to deal with, than something as potent as what we're studying. But in any case, we don't want to risk our instruments of salvation, consciousness, and will, do we? Because that's what's going to be the commonality of you in this new shift, this new day, this 5D HD, heavy devotion. In the 3D, it's 3D HD, which is heavy delusion. But in this case, we're up to the 5D, which is heavy devotion. Even though one may encounter only benevolent astral deities, and even though the hypnotist may be trying to help that person, the fact remains that she has permitted another being. Wow. What about this being of this chatter of your own mind? Who's that? What, what foreign, you know, consciousness or awareness or energy is that? This person that lives inside of you that are still, making yourself wrong. That would be one that we want to make sure that we can take a micro moment ritual of feeling God's presence instead of that, right? Then more will come to you. On this or the astral planes, permitted another being on this or the astral plane to invade and temporarily control your consciousness. So who's that in you now that is controlling your consciousness? It's the old you. It's the one that still feels the limitations, who still feels the 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 feelings that come when we kind of drop our guard and just kind of get lost in the shuffle, in the earthly shuffle, suffering, in their earthly madness and chaos. That could be the same thing as in being invaded and temporarily controlled by another being. Is what about this one? What about, like we read yesterday, that love yourself, Yogananda said, before you can love anyone or anything else. Love yourself. Love yourself. And I have a quote coming up that is perfect, I think. So this is a dangerous practice, my dears. This is why Yogananda is going on, keeping repeating this thing about don't let anyone get into your mind. Don't let anything get into your head, right? Just stay in your heart, much more powerful. Just stay with your beloved, much more enjoyable. This is a dangerous practice, one that does not in any way hasten spiritual advancement or resemble the true experience of the presence of God, which should, here's a should, that we should be man and woman's sole goal. Goal. So I call this, oh yeah, divine indweller. Because I saw that in the reading coming up that Yogananda used that word, divine indweller. It used to be my favorite word. So this is why we do the micro stop, right? In the name of love. That's why we do that. So that we can enjoy this pure as we can experience pure. This pure moment where there's no world in us. There's no the old self in us. There's no the thinking mind in us. There is no that something's wrong with us or with the world or this or that, right? That it's all dropped. And all we know is this magical moment of love. This magical moment when you love something long, long enough, it reveals its secret to you. When you love something long, long enough, it reveals its secret to you. And it's so, so beautiful, so beautiful. And it's so, so beautiful, this wonderful moment, this wonderful moment, this wonderful moment of love. Yeah, exactly, Mary. That's what we're talking about. This is our rest home now. This is our retirement from having any any more mortal desires about this world. That's what this micro love affair is all about. This micro moments is all about. We just need to tap in and another tap in of that, just to feel and experience that there's a higher power, a higher presence, a higher way to live in these bodies now. And it's our time to experience that. That's what's getting me super soul excited. Super soul excited. All right. So remember that divine indweller. Yeah. That's the same thing as saying take a micro moment, massive shift, small ritual rewiring of your mind. Okay. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So that takes us to verse 5 and 6. Maybe I saw that there, the divine indweller. But anyway, Master has said that. So that puts us to verse 5. Wow, to verse 5, my dears. Page 993, verse 5. What does verse 5 say? Because we're still on those three gunas. Know, Krishna says, know those men and women to be a shoric nature who perform terrible austerities not authorized by the scriptures. So then you're just doing your own thing, doing what you think is the right way, not giving yourself a chance to even listen to their soul wisdom that comes from these microcosmic moments of a little ritual just between you and the divine beloved. Yeah, that's our saving grace right there. Hypocrites, egotists, possessed by lust, attachment, and power madness, senselessly they torture the bodily elements. Senselessly, that poor body. Yeah. Now we can be super, super loving. So Yoganath said, love yourself. Love yourself first. Love yourself more. This is how we start to love those around us. And then those in the circle beyond our circle of influence, right? That's how we do it. In other words, if we stay set in our old ways, we torture the bodily elements and also offend me. There it is. Oh, it's in this verse that you torture your bodily elements when you senselessly go about your madness of lust, attachment, and power madness, senselessly torturing your body elements, and also offend me, the divine indweller. Yeah, what a reverse. What a reversal that you take a stop and instead of worry, fear, anger, whatever, a desire to be fulfilled, right? Or whatever, and your mind just goes to that, then you leave that beloved out in the cold, so to speak, when you can go to that warm presence in a micro minute, in a micro moment, and have a ritual of divine love in place of the old you will be replacing the old you in no time, is what I'm saying, because what we're talking about is amazing grace, my dears. It's time for us all to know that we are in amazing grace. We've been here 9 years, whatever, on the Gita stream. You don't think that adds up? The brownie points? Come on. Be aware. Be aware the shift is happening. And this practice of the micro moment is the shift practice. Massive shifts, as a matter of fact, that rewire the brain, that rewire your understanding of yourself, because now there's just going to be only love and only peace, whatever you choose. All right. So it's 7:40. Let me give you masters. It's short. And then we end the three gunas, the three aspects of that. And we go to the three classes of food. 10 years and counting. 10 years. Oh my God. We've been 10 years. Come on. We really did sign something on the other side. Narayan, Mary, Lisa, Jim, Brooke. We really did. We really did sign something on the other side to be right here, right now, hearing what we're hearing right now. We're all right. We're all right where we need to be, my dears. And you're hearing exactly what you need to hear. That goes totally 100% for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be saying any of it. So, mutilation or any excessive punishment of the physical form is condemned by the Bhagavad Gita. Man's true enemy is not his body, but his mind. His so called physical passions, this is Master's commentary on page 994. His so called physical passions are in reality produced by dark. Wow. His so called physical passions are in reality produced by dark mental forces. This is why it's such a good time to have this cosmic shift, my dears. The new you, the new truer you, or the new truer you, or Dr. Zeus says that. The new truer you, or your so called physical passions are in reality produced by dark mental forces. This is why we want to go into the light of the micro moment with the divine, just standing alone, dropping the world, dropping everything, everything, forgiving everything, and empathy galore and compassion galore for everyone, right? This is why we're together right now. So man's true enemy is not his body, but his mind. His so-called physical passions are in reality produced by dark mental forces, anger, greed, lust, which all men on the spiritual path must try to subdue and conquer. And you know what? Keep going. Keep going, my dears. Every try that you make about this, no matter how many times we slide away, again, that's part of it, right? It's about how much you've been slip sliding, and then now how many times that you get up. And now you are a master of getting up, right? Because you know that consistency is a jewel, said William Shakespeare. Though my sea is dark and my stars are gone, still I see the path through thy mercy, says Yogananda. All right. So the body is the materialization of the indwelling life. Yogananda goes on this final little paragraph, and consciousness of spirit as the individualized soul. So the body is truly, here's who we really are, materialization of the indwelling life and consciousness of spirit as the individualized soul. The nature of spirit is purity. Here we are. When you take that microcosmic little ritual break from being human and from getting off of your old self, leaving it alone, leaving all other ideas alone. The body's materialization of the indwelling life and consciousness of spirit as the individualized soul. The nature of spirit is purity, harmony, beauty, vitality, and radiance. Stand next to that in your next micro moment, my dear. Stand in that light. Just take a break. So many that you can't even believe how different you feel. The nature of spirit is purity, harmony, beauty, vitality, and radiance. To abuse the body in any way that distorts this image of harmony, purity, beauty, vitality, and radiance, to abuse the body in any way that distorts this image is to offend the Creator Lord, is to offend the Creator Lord by disfiguring. Wow. Never, no one has ever writes this stuff like Yogananda. So to abuse the body in any way that distorts this image of purity, harmony, beauty, vitality, and radiance, to abuse the body in any way that distorts this image, and anyway, those are dark forces that would abuse the body in any way that distorts this image, is to offend the Creator Lord or the divine indweller by disfiguring your human masterpiece. Oh my dears. I show, I so enjoyed sharing with you this morning because this information is red hot for devotees, souls who are where we are, right on the precipice of realizing, oh my God, I don't have that. That pull that's pulling me into the old me has disappeared. That's amazing grace. So notice those things. Notice how if there's little things, little changes, little shifts or big shifts, medium shifts happening within you, my dears, because it is on the divine timetable. Look at the world. Look at the world. And look at us right now. This is really why the world is going what it's going through. So you and I can go, oh, I certainly can let that go. I can certainly let that next thing that just happened in the news go because I much prefer to be in this light. I must prefer to be with my one beloved, sending tons of loves from Sedona, Arizona, says Brookie. All right. So if you want to hear this beautiful quote from I was going to read for this, I'm going to read it in the coming up um, Sacred Soul Meditation. So stay if you can. I'll read it kind of straight away. So if you need to go, you can go. All right. Much love and light, my dears. You made my morning as always. And really, Narayan, 10 years. We've been 10 years. There's a reason for this season, my dear. And that season is that you are the reason for this season. You, the truer you are, the truer you are. Love you. See you in all those microcosmic love exchanges. We'll be exchanging love. Every moment we take a break and have a cosmic moment of a massive shift, a small ritual that rewires everything about us. And that is that. Hare Krishna, Hare Bo, Jai Guru, Namaste.